All right, hello grade 8 math students. So in this video, what we're going to review is adding and subtracting fractions. And that's going to include fractions that are common denominators already. So that'll be the first thing we're going to do because that's really the easier one, adding, subtracting fractions of like denominators. Okay, let me write this title down first so you know what our focus is. So for example, most of you have been able to do this already. So if you have two fractions, 2/4 plus 1/4, you notice they both have the same denominators already. So this is pretty simple. All you really need to do is add the numerators and we'll get your answer. Okay, 3/4. So in this case, when adding for subtracting fractions, you're just doing the math with the numerators. Okay, so let's do another example. If it's subtracting, so let's say 5/6 minus 2/6. Notice that the denominators are also the same here, so you can just go ahead and subtract the numerators like so. And then later on in another video we will teach you how to reduce these, pardon me, not 2, 3, using greatest common factors between 3 and 6, which is 3. You can reduce this to 1/2. Okay, but for now our focus really is subtracting, adding and subtracting fractions. But what if you do get fractions that you're adding with unlike denominators? Well, this is where LCM, or aka lowest common denominator, LCD, come into play. And you have to be able to do this to be able to add, subtract fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, so this is our focus next. How do you find LCM or LCD? Lowest common multiple and lowest common denominators. Okay, so for example, now that we're going to add fractions that are unlike denominators, so let's say 1/3 plus 3/4. Okay, notice these denominators are not the same, so we cannot just add numerators, nor can we add denominators. Don't ever do that. That's not what we do in adding fractions. We can only add numerators, but we need common denominators between 3 and 4. And in order to do that, really what you're doing is you're going to have to count multiples of both of these numbers until you arrive at a common one. For instance, counting multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12. Counting multiples of 4, we get 4, 8, 12. We can go further, 16 if you want, or 15, but we don't have to, because notice that we have a common number between both of them that came up as the first one. Okay, we can go further over here and keep counting multiples until we both get to 24, let's say, but that is not the lowest common. So in this case, this 12 is the lowest common multiple or lowest common denominator. That's what the LCM stands for. So I think I'll put that, I'll put that acronym over here, lowest common multiple, which is really the same as lowest common denominator when we're dealing with fractions. Denominator. And this is the step that arguably is, well, actually, admittedly is pain in the butt for a lot of students because they have to go through this huge extra step just to be able to add these fractions. And so what do we need? Why do we need this lowest common denominator? Because as far as fractions go, if you want to accurately add them or subtract them, they have to be really of the same shape. And I don't want to have to model that here. Maybe I'll do a separate video on modeling that using shapes. But if you want to accurately, they have to be exactly the same shape and size. Okay? So how then do we get both of these fractions so that they have a denominator of 12? Well, I've seen some, TikTok videos where they show you the butterfly mode, which is okay, but sometimes it doesn't give you the lowest common denominator. So that's why this is the one that I'm trying to teach you. Okay, so now that you need both of these to transform into 12s, well, how do you do that? Well, to transform this 3 into a 12, you have to multiply it by 4. But because we're trying to transform this entire fraction into denominator 12, you have to multiply the numerator also by 4. So now this 1/3 transforms into 4 over 12. Same with this 4. You want to transform this 4 into a 12, therefore you have to multiply it by 3. You have to do the same thing with the numerator. So now, this now transforms into 9 over 12. And now that I have my common denominator, I can go ahead and just add my numerators, all that over 12, and so this ends up being 13 over 12. I suppose this is probably a good time now for me to show you how to reduce this improper fraction, or sometimes I call it top heavy. Yes, I know we all have a calculator, but in this case, when you are transforming this or reducing this to a mixed number, which you have to, you have no choice but to really transform this into a long division. And that's what this means, really. It's 13 divided by 12. In other words, how many 12s are in 13? Well, I'll give you 1, and then 1 times 12 will give you the remainder here. 13 minus 12 is your 1 remainder. And I write that like this because that remainder is the one that is the little number off to the side. This big number is the one that goes in the front. Okay? So let's try another example of this. This time we're going to be subtracting. But don't forget, you have to find lowest common denominator first. Okay? Let's try one more. This time we're going to do one on subtracting. So let's try this. Let's say 3/4 minus 1/3. Oh, pardon me. Let's try different denominators here actually. Let's try this first. Let's try 2/3. It's nice and easy. Minus 1/2. Okay. Let's try an easier one here. So, once again, these are not common. I can't just go ahead and subtract anything here. I can't just go 2 minus 1 and 3 minus 2. We never do that. We never subtract the denominators. What we need is a lowest common denominator. So I'm going to start that over here and abbreviate an LCD. I'm going to count multiples of both of these denominators, 3 and 2, until I get to the first one. In this case, 3, 6, 9. I'm going to go further. I'm going to go 12 and see what happens. 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't have to go any further because here is my common denominator already. Lowest common means, lowest means it's the first one that shows up. Common means it's both of them have it as a factor, and the denominator then becomes the denominator in our fractions. Okay? So now, once again, how do you transform this this 2/3 into a denominator with 6? Well, simply have to multiply this 3 by 2 because that's how many multiples of 3s there are to get to 6. don't forget to multiply the top, the numerator. So this 2/3 has become 4/6. What do you have to do to this 2 to make it into a 6? Well, it took you 3 multiples of 2's to get the 6, so you have to multiply it by 3. Don't forget to multiply the top by the same factor. So 1/2 now transforms into 3/6. And now you notice that we have common denominators in both of these fractions, so now I can go ahead and just subtract the numerators. 4 minus 3 is 1/6. And that, I hope, is a good enough lesson for adding and subtracting fractions. Hope it was a quick review. It is a grade 7 curriculum, at least here in our area. Okay, so I hope this video helps finding lowest common denominators. If you don't have them, find lowest common denominators first before you add or subtract fractions. And I know it is a kind of a pain in the butt adding and subtracting fractions when they don't have common denominators, but that's what we have to do. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it's helpful. Have a good day. Bye bye.